Hello, Internet. It is I, Malik Aaron, and welcome back to my box office recaps. So, remember in my January recap where I said 2020 has been terrible? Yeah, scratch that. 2020 has really been god awful, and that's me being nice. Because this whole coronavirus outbreak is seriously getting out of control. Very recently, the NBA just canceled their entire season for the time being. Tom Hanks has recently been infected with the coronavirus. E3, South by Southwest got canceled. Many countries around the world, are either under such things as lockdown, mass quarantine, travel restrictions. You're now being advised to not be near large groups of people in order to avoid spreading the virus. People are fighting over hand sanitizer and toilet paper. It's been crazy, and that's an understatement. Now, when it comes to me personally, I'm fine. Everyone I know personally is fine. None of us have been infected with the virus, as far as we know. But for those of you out there who either are infected or know someone who is infected, I really wish you a speedy recovery. I hope you get the treatment you need, because the last thing the world wants at this point is for the virus to spread further or, at the very worst, mutate. I hope to God that doesn't happen. But yeah, this whole thing has just been just chaos right now. And I'm hoping in at least a few months from now, this whole thing will, well, I wouldn't say go away completely. It at least slows down to a point where it's no longer a worldwide crisis as it currently is right now. That's what I'm hoping for. But you're probably asking, Malik, what does the coronavirus have to do with the box office? Well, it has a lot to do with the box office. Maybe not domestically, but especially overseas. The overseas box office has been slaughtered due to this virus. I mean, China, where the virus originated from, they shut down all of their theaters, every last one. So at this point in time, there's no money to be made in China. And considering the fact that China is the second biggest movie market in the world, that's a humongous problem. And there have been other countries that have also, stopped, shut down theaters. Countries like South Korea, Japan, Italy, they shut down theaters. So there's no money to be made from them. And so, yeah, the overseas has been abysmal this year. And considering the fact that a lot of movies were hoping for that Chinese dollar to save them, well, they're out of luck now. At least at this point in time. But domestically, nothing too crazy has happened. I know some movies have moved their release dates. No Time to Die moved from April to November. But even more tragic, Peter Rabbit 2 moved from April to August. Yeah, that's right. Peter Rabbit 2, the most anticipated sequel of 2020, got pushed away. Pushed back from Easter its Easter opening to August. I know. It's so sad. I'm just kidding. I don't care about Peter Rabbit at all, but a lot of people are making, jokes about, like, bruh, they moved Peter Rabbit because this virus. This virus has gone too far. I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, so far nothing too crazy has happened domestically. And in February, where the talk of the virus really started to speed up, things were meh, very meh, just like last year. Because many of the movies that came out in February tanked, especially the one you see on the screen right now. But there were two movies in February that really stood out because they actually made money. But we'll talk about those later. So, yeah, let's get started. And just like my past few recaps, I'm going to be comparing my own personal predictions with the predictions of the numbers just to see who was more accurate. And, because I think it's fun. So let's get started. And oh boy, we are starting out with Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. Or Harley Quinn Birds of Prey because they changed the title of the movie on ticket websites. Oh boy. Alright. So, Birds of Prey was expected to be the biggest hit of the month. A lot of people thought that was going to be the case. This movie had a lot going for it. It was the only movie to come out the first weekend of February, had no competition in sight. Harley Quinn as a character is one of the most popular characters in all of DC. This is a spin-off to Suicide Squad, an extremely popular movie that made a ton of money back in 2016. R-rated comic book movies have been doing very well. Female superhero movies have been doing very well. The reviews were good. The audience response was fine. Everything was looking great. But it was not. Now, the numbers were very optimistic here. They thought it would make $175 million domestically, which, although would have been low for a DCEU movie, it still would have been at least higher than Shazam, which made $140 million domestic. But oh no, that didn't happen at all. In fact, Birds of Prey didn't even make half of that 175. Nope. It only made $83 million domestically and $197 million worldwide. Oh, this is such a disaster on so many levels. Like, this is low for really any superhero movie. Because superhero movies over the past decade have been incredibly popular. Like, most superhero movies, a lot of them, really the majority of them, make over $100 million domestically. Many of them making that much in their opening weekends. But Birds of Prey couldn't even do that in its whole freaking run. In fact, if you want to know how bad this number really is, over the past decade, the 2010s, the only superhero movies to my knowledge that have done worse than Birds of Prey are Fanforstic, Jonah Hex, Dark Phoenix, and Hellboy 2019. You never, ever want your movie associated with those under any context. So, yeah, that's really bad. And I remember, like, one of the first articles about this movie is that this movie had the worst opening for a DC movie since Jonah Hex. And Jonah Hex only opened with like $5 million back in 2010. And yes, you know what this means? Green Lantern. Green freaking Lantern. The movie that Ryan Reynolds despises and makes fun of constantly in the Deadpool movies. That opened higher than Birds of Prey. Yeah, that's just awful. And I think there are a couple of reasons as to why that is, why this whole debacle happened. One, Margot Robbie, as popular as she is as Harley Quinn, she is not a box office draw. In fact, no one in this cast is a box office draw. And the thing is with Margot Robbie is that when she's in a leading role, it doesn't end well for her. When she's in a supporting role, it works out a lot better. Like in movies like Wolf of Wall Street, where she was considered like where many people first saw her. And movies like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, those did a lot better than this. And Ian McGregor, who was the main villain as Black Mask in this movie, again, look at the box office for Dr. Sleep. That should tell you all you need to know. He's not a draw either, despite the fact that, he was the best thing about the Star Wars prequels when he was Obi-Wan Kenobi. And the thing about that Obi-Wan Kenobi, they were supposed to do a TV show, but apparently that's been going through some serious issues, so that's another thing wrong with Star Wars right now. So, yeah, and it also didn't help that Ian McGregor, when they were doing interviews for this movie, press and whatnot, he kept saying really bad things. He kept saying stuff like, "Oh, this movie is all about feminism. It's gonna tackle everyday misogyny." And I'm like, nobody goes to see a movie that's all about, fighting toxic masculinity and misogyny and pro-feminism and stuff like that. No one pays to see movies like that. No one pays to see movies that remind them of the real world. Many people see movies to escape the real world. But apparently Ian McGregor didn't know that. So I think his words, what he said, definitely hurt this movie. And you know what's funny? Really funny. Is that many people, they blamed this movie's failures because men didn't see it. Men didn't support it. It was those darn white males. They do this all the time. Like, those darn white males didn't see this movie, but you know what's hilarious? More men saw this movie than women. I'm not making this up. That's actually true. More men saw this than women. So all the feminists out there on social media complain that men didn't show up to see the movie. You didn't show up either. No one did. So they really need to shut up with that argument because it's just straight up false when it comes to this movie. And I know people are like, oh my gosh, the R rating really hurt this movie because Harley Quinn, has many young fans that were pretty much shut out from seeing it because of the rating. And there is some truth to that. It is true that many Harley Quinn fans are teenagers. They obviously can't go see an R-rated movie, so they are shut out. So that is a problem. But the thing is, that really shouldn't matter. It really shouldn't. Because R-rated comic book movies have been doing extremely well over the past few years. The Deadpool movies, Logan, Joker. Joker was the first R-rated movie to make $1 billion. And that was from Warner Brothers in DC. Granted, Joker's not part of the DCU, but still had the DC name on it. So yeah, an R rating for this movie was not a death sentence at all. And, actually it is true. Like, they marketed this movie to teenagers, which was a huge mistake because they couldn't see the movie. They should have marketed it to, like, older audiences, us young adults. But they didn't. So, yeah, Warner Brothers was being very stupid on, that, in that department. And yeah, the marketing for this movie was weak. Very weak. I mean, Suicide Squad's marketing was incredible. It made people who weren't even interested in comic books excited to see the movie. This had no memorable moments at all in any of the promotional material, except maybe that egg sandwich. That's it. That is it. And yeah, like this. Ugh. I'm trying to think what else caused this movie to fail. I think that's about it. I think I said all the major things about it. But yeah, Birds of Prey, an easy failure. Without a doubt, the biggest failure of the month. And, you're definitely not going to see any sequels to this. Maybe a series on HBO Max, but that's really pushing it. And I know Harley Quinn will be in the Suicide Squad, aka James Gunn's Suicide Squad. And from the set photos I've seen of Harley Quinn, it seems like he's been doing a lot better with the character than, the director here. Her name is Kathy Yen. He seems to be doing a lot better than what Kathy Yen did with Birds of Prey. So, yeah, that's Birds of Prey. It bombed. It did terrible. So, yeah. Moving on. February 14th, Valentine's Day. There were 4 movies that came out. Only one was successful, and that's the Blue Blur. My boy, Sonic. But we can't talk about him yet. First, we gotta talk about Downhill. Oof. Oof, indeed. The numbers thought it would make $35 million domestic. I thought that was extremely high. That was just ridiculous. And Downhill, it wishes it made $35 million worldwide, but that didn't happen. No, it only made $8 million total. Now, there are a couple reasons as to why this happened. One, no one knew this movie even existed. It had barely any marketing at all. That's one. Two, Will Ferrell and Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Neither of them have great star power right now, especially Will Ferrell. Three, this movie got terrible response from audiences because a lot of them thought they were going to see like a fun comedy with Will Ferrell, but instead they got like a drama about divorce. And again, this movie came out on Valentine's Day. Who wants to watch a movie about divorce on the day of love? Like, I mean, maybe they were being ironic about it, but still, that's why. It's just, it boggles the mind. And also didn't help here that this movie was made by Fox Searchlight, which was a division of Fox. And we all know Disney owns Fox now, so as I've said for many months, any movie that, any Fox movie that Disney acquires is likely going to die a terrible death. And this is just another one in the pile. So, yeah. That's Downhill, which is the most fitting name ever for this movie. Next up, Fantasy Island. They thought it would make 45 million domestic. I thought it would make like something like in the 30 million range, which would have been okay, but it didn't even reach that. It only made 26 million domestic, 45 million worldwide. Now the silver lining here is that Fantasy Island was very cheap to make. It only cost $7 million, so it made like six and a half times its budget. So it's obviously gonna make some type of profit. But still, this is weak, especially because it's Valentine's Day, one of the most lucrative days of the year, and horror movies are usually a really good date night option. So this should have done a lot better, but it didn't. You want to know why? Well, just a few quick reasons. One is that they're marketing this movie to teenagers, teens. Teens who probably have no idea what Fantasy Island is because they weren't born when the original TV show was around. Like in the 70s, 80s, something like that. So, like, why mark? Let's just go to the next reason because I'm about to just my mind is just I'm so baffled. Second reason is that they turned, the original Fantasy Island show was about, fulfilling your fantasies and stuff. And that was the whole thing. But they decided to turn that, make a movie version out of it, and then make a horror adaptation of it? Like, why? That's so bizarre. So, that's such a strange choice. That'd be like if I took a show that, I don't know, I'm thinking of a old show. A show like Seinfeld and making it a musical. That doesn't sound too bad. Or like, I don't know, a superhero movie because I can. Like, doesn't that sound kind of ridiculous? It's the same what they did with this. And it didn't help that the reviews for this were abysmal. But granted, the reviews for Countdown last year were abysmal, and that movie still made money, so there's that. But yeah, this is definitely a miss for Jason Blum, but thankfully, he did redeem himself at the end of the month, as you'll soon find out. That's Fantasy Island. What's next? The Photograph. Oh, man. The numbers thought it would make $35 million. I thought it would make somewhere in the realm of, 30-ish million, 25 to 30. That didn't happen. Nope. It only made, I'm waiting for this to load, $20 million domestically and worldwide. And that's kind of shocking because this is a romantic movie coming out on Valentine's Day. How can you fail? There's no way you can fail. Like, Valentine's Day is the ideal release date to release a movie like this, and it still bombed. But the thing is, with the Photograph. Like, it started out okay. Like, it opened to 6 million on Friday, which was fine considering it was low budget, didn't have a big marketing effort and whatnot. But then after that, it fell like a stone. Actually, no, it fell like a boulder. Look at these drops: 41, 42, 51. It kept dropping and dropping and dropping until the second weekend where it dropped 77%. That's more than 3/4. That's one of the worst drops ever for a major movie. I think the only major movie that did worse, has a worse drop than this was, what was it, Friday the 13th from 2009. Even still, that movie opened way higher than this. Even a similar movies like Valentine's Day or 50 Shades of Grey, which fell very hard after they opened on Valentine's Day. Difference is they opened much, much higher. So yeah, Photograph, easy bomb. No, huge bomb, no question about it. And although it wasn't super expensive, it's still going to lose money. So yeah, that's the Photograph. And now, after all that doom and gloom, we're now going to get into some positive news. And that revolves around my boy, the blue blur, Sonic the Hedgehog, which against all odds became the biggest movie of February. And that just makes me so freaking happy. Now, the numbers were being, I would say, reasonable with their predictions. They thought it would make 105 million domestic. I think I was a little bit higher than them, but not too higher. I forgot exactly. But yeah, I was being reasonable. I didn't want to be too optimistic because, things could go wrong. Sonic the Hedgehog, it's still a part of a very infamous genre, the video game movie genre, which still has a stigma around it. So I didn't want to be too optimistic. But man, oh man, did Sonic overperform. Because Sonic ended up making 142 million domestically, 295 million worldwide. Now the domestic number is very important. Because in a few days, Sonic the Hedgehog will outgross Detective Pikachu to become the highest grossing video game movie ever domestically. Yeah, you heard that right. Sonic the Hedgehog. A movie that went through so much drama over, the character design. It first started out just truly atrocious. Like, who on earth greenlit this thing? And eventually they redesigned it to be far, far more appealing. And despite against all odds, Sonic will make more than Pikachu. Like, could you imagine saying something like that last year? Especially when that first trailer for Sonic came out? You look like a crazy person. No one would believe you, but here we are. Now, it won't make as much as Pikachu worldwide because, again, coronavirus has been killing the overseas box office. But still, for video game movies, this is pretty darn good. It's very high on the list. And it helps that this movie was relatively cheap for a blockbuster-esque movie. It only cost $90 million, so it's definitely made a profit at this point. And it's definitely made enough to guarantee sequels and maybe a whole Sonic cinematic universe, which I will support 100%. I am all for a Sonic cinematic universe. I am all in. I want that to happen. And once I talk about the reasons why, I'll explain what I want out of this Sonic cinematic universe. Now, the reasons why this movie did as well as it did, there are a few main reasons. One is because it was the only broadly appealing, family-friendly film to come out in February. And it was the first family movie in a while because Doolittle was a disaster. That brought in nobody. So, and Sonic looked far more appealing thanks to the redesign. He looked far more appealing. I mean, if that original version came out in November, it would have gotten slaughtered by Frozen 2. So, it was a good move to move it to February, where it was able to stand out more. So that's the first reason was the release date, and also because it's Valentine's Day, very lucrative. So again, great release date. Second reason is that I mean, although video game movies do have a stigma around them, a bad stigma, it's not entirely, a death sentence to be a video game movie. There have been plenty that have done well financially. I mean, the Resident Evil movies did really well despite being abominations to the source material. Um, what else? Lara Croft Tomb Raider from 2001, the one with Angelina Jolie, was extremely successful. The first Mortal Kombat was extremely successful. Movies like Detective Pikachu was that was very successful last year. And yeah, there have been plenty of bombs. Super Mario Brothers, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat Annihilation. What else? All those Yui Bowl, House of the Dead, Alone in the Dark, Blood Rain, um, movies like Warcraft, Assassin's Creed. All those were disasters. But still, you can succeed as a video game movie. And I do think Detective Pikachu made video game movies, seeing them a lot more comfortable than they were in the past. Because Detective Pikachu was the first video game movie to not be considered awful. So that definitely helped. But the main reason I truly believe why Sonic overperformed is because Paramount, the studio, they listened to the fans. They listened to the criticism. Because, most of the time in these situations, when there's like a huge internet backlash against a movie, the studio just goes full steam ahead. They don't care what anybody says. Because they assume that all that negative attention will lead to dollars, and that's not true. I'm trying to think of some examples. Ninja Turtles 2014, despite having Shrek looking Ninja Turtles, they pushed it out there. And this is the same studio. This was Paramount. They pushed out Bay Turtles. They pushed out The Last Airbender. They pushed out Transformers. All those got significant backlash, but they pushed them out anyway. And then there's other studios like Sony. They pushed out Ghostbusters 2016, despite the fact that everyone said it looked terrible. They pushed it anyway. They pushed the Emoji Movie, despite everyone on planet Earth saying that was an awful idea for a movie. They still released it. But this time it was different. Paramount, they saw the fan backlash, the criticism over Sonic's design, and the whole trailer itself with the Gangster's Paradise music. I still don't understand why they chose that. But the thing is, they stopped and they realized, hey, maybe we made a mistake. I don't think that's a maybe. That's a definitely. Like, we definitely made a mistake. People are very mad at us. How about we redesign Sonic to look more like the games, and maybe people might see our movie? That was probably their thought process. And then, literally a couple days after that first trailer, the director, Jeff Fowler, went on Twitter, said, hey, we listened to the fan backlash. We realized we made a huge mistake. So we decided to redesign Sonic. And then later on, he said the movie would get pushed back several months. That way the visual, the artists, the animators, they won't be under crunch. Sadly, the animation studio who redesigned Sonic ended up being closed down, like, right before Christmas. Don't blame this movie for that. There are some other reasons as to why. But yeah, it's sad. And I hope everyone at that animation studio has found other employment. So I hope they're back up on their feet. And yeah, I think, Paramount listening to the fans definitely gave this movie a lot of great publicity. A lot of people were like, wow, they listened? I actually want to support this now. And a lot of people felt that way. And that, that whole thing, especially when that second trailer dropped, when everyone saw the redesign, everyone was like, oh my god, this looks amazing. I'm definitely going to see this movie now. So that And then everything just snowballed from there until it came out. And then when the review said, hey, it's pretty good, then that made more people want to see it. It made both fans and non-fans want to see it. Then it ended up having the biggest opening weekend ever for a video game movie. And now it will soon become the biggest video game movie domestically. So, man, it's a hell of a redemption story for Sonic. This movie could have been a train wreck if it came out with that original design. It would have been a disaster. But thanks to that one crucial decision, Paramount may have, started a brand new franchise. And heck, maybe Sonic's success will convince other studios to give video game movies a chance to make more accurate, at least video game movies that are better made, in the future. I know there's a Mario movie coming out in a few years from Universal. And I know there's some others in development. There's a Metal Gear Solid movie in development. There's a Borderlands movie in development. Some people are probably hoping Metroid becomes a movie. And yeah, and again, as I said previously, this Sonic the Hedgehog universe. And this is spoilers for people who haven't seen the Sonic movie. You've been warned, although you probably know about this already. Tails! Tails is going to be in the sequel. And I knew they were going to show a post-credit scene of him or somebody. So yeah, in these future movies, I hope to see Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Shadow. I don't know about Silver and Blaze. That's going a little too far. Maybe the Chaotix. That's a little much. But, I'm hoping, more characters show up, and I hope they have great designs too. And yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog, you are the big winner of February. Congratulations. And then after Sonic, everything just goes downhill again. Like Sonic was the one big bright spot of February, and then we just go down to a CGI dog with Harrison Ford. So yeah, the week after, Sonic, things got very bad. So first we got Bram's The Boy 2. They thought it would make $25 million domestically. Huh? Yeah. That didn't happen. No. It only made $12 million domestically. What can I say about Bram's The Boy 2? You can just watch my video on that and it'll just explain everything. Because this movie never needed to exist. No one asked for this. Nobody demanded this. But they made it anyway. 4 years after the first movie. And apparently, this movie was based off the twist from the first movie. So if you never seen the first movie, you're gonna be really confused, I bet. And this movie was solely a cash grab. They made this for money and money only, no other reason, and it shows. So yeah, Bram's The Boy 2. I don't want to talk about it. It's just bleh. And I don't think I said this yet, but it's the second horror movie of February. In fact, as of right now, in 2020, there have been 7 horror movies in 2 months. That's beyond saturation. That's just... Let's just move on. I don't want to think about that. I already made a little rant in my The Boy 2 video. So yeah, Call of the Wild is next. They thought it would make $55 million. Which wouldn't be too bad for a family movie, a live-action family movie. But the thing is, this movie was stupid expensive. Cost $125 million. Why? Why that much money for a dog movie? Well, want to know why? Because the dog is CGI. And it's very unconvincing CGI. I bet if they used a real dog and only used a CGI dog for really dangerous stuff that you wouldn't want a real dog to do unless you want PETA on your ass, then Yeah, it would have saved them a whole bunch of money, but no, they went full CGI, and I think it really hurt the movie. But no, domestically, it has made more than that 55 million. It's made 58 million so far, 101 million so far. I mean, if that budget was about half as much as it is, then this would be pretty okay. But because it's so expensive, this movie's gonna be a bomb. It's gonna lose money. A lot of it, I bet. And, I mean, it could have been worse. I mean, it did make more than Cats. I mean, that's something, I guess. I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, for Harrison Ford, I don't think this is going to do that much damage to his career. I mean, he's been in bombs, playing bombs before in the past, so I don't think this is going to do that much more damage. But, yeah, this isn't the best look for him. But, I mean, it could have been worse. Could have been a whole lot worse, but, yeah, Called Wild, definitely another huge bomb. But the difference between this and Birds of Prey is that Birds of Prey was expected to be a huge hit and ended up flopping, so it looks a lot worse in comparison because many people thought Call of the Wild was DOA. So, I mean, the fact that it overperformed ever so slightly, avoids it from being the big loser of February, but it's still a loser nonetheless. So yeah, Call of the Wild, it bombed, it died. Finally, oh, I should mention something. The numbers they make these articles, these preview articles, literally the first day of the month. So obviously things are going to change. Things are going to be outdated. Emma was supposed to come out the end of February. That didn't happen. Said it came out like the week after, the first weekend of March. So ignore Emma here, but I'll talk about Emma when we get to the March recap. But there was only one movie that came out, and that was The Invisible Man. So Invisible Man. Alright, okay. So the numbers thought it would only make 35 million domestic. Their reasoning is because there have just been too many horror movies out, which is very true. And, it doesn't help that for Universal, they already released 2 horror movies, Black Christmas and The Turning, and both did awful. So why release another one? Like, it's just, again, I don't understand Universal. They make some weird choices. They thought releasing Cats and Doolittle back to back was a smart idea. It was not. So I don't understand their logic. But The Invisible Man, to a lot of people's surprise, did really freaking well. In fact, it's doing quite great. Because currently it's made 56 million domestically after like 2 weeks, which is very good. It's made 100 million worldwide, which is even better. And it only cost like $7 million, so it's made a really good profit at this point. Now, I think the main reason why is because unlike all the other horror movies that came out this year, this one actually looked good. This one actually looked like someone put in some level of effort into it. Like, it looked interesting. The marketing actually was kind of creepy and chilling, which is what a horror movie should do. It should look creepy and chilling. And, and some people, I don't know if this is a pro or con, but I mean, I did say in my Birds of Prey, when talking about that sometimes if you put like real life stuff in a movie, it won't do well because people don't want to be reminded about real life stuff in movies. But I feel like this one was done a lot better than Birds of Prey because it's not like super duper in your face. Like, it doesn't like bash men or anything because this movie's really about abuse. It's about an abusive relationship. And, the marketing didn't, they didn't insult anybody. They didn't do any of that. They just sold the movie as a movie. They didn't sell this as like this big, it's gonna change society type movie. No, they just sold it as a movie, and I think that really helped the Invisible Man in the long run. And yeah, now will this lead to another dark universe, a dark cinematic universe? Because the thing is, this was not the original Invisible Man movie we were gonna get. The original one was supposed to star Johnny Depp, and it was supposed to be a part of the whole dark universe where you have all the classic Universal monsters. They're all in an MCU like universe, and The Mummy did so badly that they scrapped the whole thing. So they pretty much hit the reboot button on that, and so that's why this movie exists. And I feel like this movie's success will spawn some type of universe. I've heard that they're making a Dracula movie with Jason Blum. So, yeah, I think Jason Blum, he will head a dark universe esque. Well, a new dark universe. A dark universe that's actually successful. And it lasts more than one movie. So, I mean, that's good. But, yeah, that's the Invisible Man. And I know that there was My Hero Academia and Practical Jokers came out in the month. They didn't have it here. I didn't even know they were gonna come out. I didn't know how wide the releases were gonna be, so I didn't cover them. But My Hero Academia made over like $12 or $13 million. Really good for an anime. And I think it proves at this point that anime is indeed mainstream. It's no longer the niche thing that it once was. So that's good for My Hero Academia. Maybe, actually, I shouldn't say it'll get a live action version. We don't need that. Hollywood, please don't touch My Hero Academia. If you do, you're gonna have millions of fans, ready to, well, I guess kill you. I guess because there's just some things you don't touch. Like Back to the Future. You don't touch that. If you touch that, you're guaranteed you just signed a death warrant. So, yeah, Hollywood, don't touch My Hero Academia. And then, of course, in Practical Jokers, it did pretty well, considering it was a movie that was literally the TV show in movie form. So that did good, too, I guess. That was February. It was kind of Not much happened except with Sonic and Invisible Man. And, yeah, it was a February. But now there's March. Oh boy, March is getting off to a poor start. Onward bombed. Nothing else. Really, there are only two real hits that could come out of March, and that's Quiet Place Part 2, which I'm definitely gonna see. I really want to see it. And then there's Mulan, which I don't support at all. I think it just ugh. It sickens me that they would touch Mulan and change it the way they have, but I think that could do really well, at least domestically. Worldwide, who knows? Worldwide is just in turmoil right now. Overseas is just ugh. It's really bad. But we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. So yeah, that's the February box office. That's the recap. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications, share. You know the drill. If you want to check out all my predictions for February, I have them all in my Winter 2020 playlist. You go check those out. I'm going to be doing predictions for all the movies in March, and then I'll do a recap video of that. And I did say, because April is so dismal when it comes to movies, I will start my summer 2020 predictions early. Just to get them over with. So, and I'm going to be splitting that up between blockbusters and non-blockbusters, just like last year. So yeah, that's going to be in the works. And yeah, that's it. That's all. I am out.